Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. Welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And today we're diving into something that honestly stopped me in my tracks this week. Literally, I was so gobsmacked. I was actually so surprised to hear somebody say this, but then again, why would I? I heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC as she's called, say these words: "You can't earn $1 billion." What? I've been teaching against that very concept for decades. And I wasn't gobsmacked just because wealth automatically equals virtue. That's not it. I wrote a book called Your Inner Billionaire. I was blown away because that sentence reveals something so much deeper. It revealed a worldview that's going on right now, a belief system, but more importantly, and I talk about this all the time, a frequency. And I want to talk about that today because I just said I wrote a book called Your Inner Billionaire. And the entire premise of that book is this: wealth is your inheritance spiritually. It's not primarily about money, but wealth is about identity. It's about your worthiness that you feel. It's about your capacity to receive. It's about your vision of what you can co-create. It's about receiving, creation, stewardship, and most of all, expansion. And the irony is, people screaming the loudest about billionaires right now so much have the deepest unresolved wounds around money themselves. And I talk about this in the very first chapter of the book. It's about seeing your money story. It's about uncovering and revealing it, and then seeing where you have been wounded about money. Because money is just an energy. We've gone back decades trying to make money something that it's not, with the rhetoric that's going on out in the world right now. And honestly, that's a conversation that people don't want to have, because then it reveals their own insecurities and their own poverty mindset and their own sense of victimhood. So when I listened to her comments, I didn't hear economics. I heard a money story from her, poverty story, a victim story, and we all have them on some level or another. And as I talk about in the book, you can hear them. They show up in families, in churches, in politics, in classrooms, in our culture. And the stories go like this: money corrupts people. Rich people are greedy. Money is the root of all evil. There's never enough. If someone wins, someone else loses. Success must come at someone else's expense. And I'm here to tell you that is not abundance consciousness. That is fear consciousness, lack consciousness, victimhood consciousness, poverty consciousness. And what's fascinating to me is that many people who claim to fight for the poor are actually reinforcing poverty energetically over and over and over and over. Because when you constantly tell people the system is rigged, you can never get ahead, rich people stole it, you'll never achieve that, you are programming limitation. It is a version of brainwashing. You are reinforcing helplessness. You are training people to externalize power when the power is within you. So I want to take a step back and share about what I see is happening. But you don't have to buy into this, because that is not the truth of your true essence, your spiritualness, your godness. And it is the foundation of my book, Your Inner Billionaire, because it's the exact opposite of what I just shared. Your power begins internally. And this is the piece that struck me the most that she said. You cannot earn $1 billion. And honestly, well, on one level, let's just talk about it from this perspective. She's accidentally right because wealth at that level is not about hourly labor. She's talking about it from a labor perspective. Health has always been about leveraging your time, leveraging your teams, leveraging your partnerships. That's how economics works, which I find it interesting that she has an economic degree. This is how innovation works. This is how scale works. And that's how every major advancement in civilization has worked. So, yes, you're right. No billionaire is stuffing envelopes for 14 hours a day for $12 an hour. It's just like that's never going to get anybody ahead. I often talk about having a job, being just over broke, job, and I'm not here to diminish anyone that has a job. But the thing is you can't build generational wealth by staying stuck in a fixed income, which is what hourly work is. So she's talking about the working class as if they will never be able to get out of that mindset. So, yes, you're not going to become a billionaire by working an hourly wage because what a billionaire is doing is they're creating systems. They're coming up with ideas. They're creating the infrastructure that we work within and technology and investment and distribution. And guess what they're doing? They're taking risk to do that because when you don't take risk, you stay stuck. But those things are what create leverage. Somewhere along the way, we lost the understanding of leverage, I believe, because of the Industrial Revolution, which trained people into one singular paradigm: trade time for dollars, clock in, clock out, trade your life force for a paycheck. But I'm here to tell you there are other ways to create value. And now with AI, holy moly, we're entering another massive leverage era. We have been provided leverage for years now, for decades. It started with the car, and then it moved on to the Industrial Revolution, which just was a systematic process. But then we have computers. Now we've moved into AI. But think about the innovations that have made your life so that you can leverage your time. And instead of leveraging our time, what most people are doing are still burning out because you're finding other things to fill that time with busyness. So one person can now create what once required an entire company. What? That's so exciting. That changes everything. But this is where I want to take the conversation a little bit deeper, especially for women. Women have been conditioned to believe they must prove their worth, earn it by overworking for it. And that's the problem, is that you will never become a billionaire on that treadmill where you are exhausting yourself. You don't need to earn love. You are loved because you exist. You don't have to earn approval. You already have approval because you exist. You don't have to earn security or earn visibility. Those are your inherited traits. But we've masked it with all of the craziness that goes on, especially with social media. And the truth is, your worth is intrinsic. It has nothing to do outside of you. It exists because you exist. And your value in the marketplace, you can expand it. Your skills can expand. Your impact can expand. But your worth, that is not negotiable. You are worthy because you exist. And so many people who are attacking wealth are actually revealing an internal belief that wealth itself is unsafe. Somehow it's immoral, unattainable, or reserved for other people, those billionaires. That's not economics. That, my friends, is identity brainwashing. But here's the interesting contradiction. Many of the same people criticizing wealth enjoyed enormous privilege themselves. I'm not going to name them because if you don't know who they are, then I invite you to do the research on it. But I do get a little annoyed with the hypocrisy of these same people flying around in private jets, celebrity treatment. I'm so important, massive media contacts, power because of a position, and influence and attention when they are schooling you, the working class, on how you are being so subverted that somehow other people having wealth is immoral when they are rolling in dough. I mean, I don't have to share their names. If you don't know who they are, I promise you, go chat GPT it. But that contradiction, that hypocrisy matters. This isn't really about fairness. It's about your emotional relationship to money. And if someone fundamentally believes wealth is exploitive, if you believe that, you are going to subconsciously repel it even while you're chasing it. That's why I teach frequency, because money amplifies who you already are. Now, on the complete opposite side of this conversation, this made my heart absolutely sing. Marco Rubio made a statement this week that so resonated with this exact concept. Someone asked him, "What's your vision for America?" And he said, "The place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything." That is not just the American dream. That is your inherited right. Not guaranteed outcomes, not equal outcomes, not forced sameness. Ugh. It's opportunity and freedom and creation and potential. And whether you agree politically with someone or not, that is the principle that matters so much more deeply. Because the moment society starts deciding that there is some moral ceiling on human expansion, we are no longer talking about abundance. We are talking about controlled limitation. Who wants to be limited? I want the sky to be the limit. Look at nature. I always use nature as an example. You probably know that if you listen to this podcast. A tree does not apologize for producing more fruit than another tree. The ocean does not apologize for waves. The sun does not ration light. Nature itself is abundant. But here's what happened. Somewhere humanity adopted this bizarre belief that expansion itself is immoral. Now listen carefully. That does not mean corruption doesn't exist. Well, yeah, it does. It also doesn't mean exploitation doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that every billionaire is ethical, but it doesn't also mean that every one of them is immoral. Of course, corruption exists, but corruption exists at every income level. Scarcity exists at every income level, low, high, middle, everywhere. There are deeply generous, wealthy people and deeply greedy, broke people. Money simply magnifies consciousness. Now, I do understand why many Americans feel squeezed. Prices have exploded, gas prices have gone up, home prices, the unicorn year sent those into the stratosphere. Beef is up, not for any particular reason other than weather. Milk prices went up. Everything feels expensive. People can feel that. But here's the nuance that nobody is discussing. Wages also increased in the last couple of years. And this is the thing, it's very fascinating. Walmart wages, for example, rose to an average of $18 an hour, which they used to be 8 or less. And most of their positions are higher than that. Real wages dipped when we had inflation, but then they have recovered again almost everywhere. So you're making more money in your pocket. Yes, you're spending more money. And I've been on the planet for 70 years. So I know once things go up, they very rarely go down. I mean, that's just the long and the short of it. So what is affordability mean? It means more money in your pocket so that you can spend money on the things that you desire. But here's the other thing that's very interesting. Everyone feels this pressure, right? I mean, I'm not immune to the idea that it's more expensive to go to the grocery store, or go to the gas station, or go anywhere. But also, people today possess conveniences and luxuries that were unimaginable even 10 years ago, let alone decades ago. I mean, how many of you listening are streaming something? You've got a smartphone. I mean, nobody lives without a smartphone anymore, right? We're all doing DoorDash. I'm not, but lots of people are doing DoorDash and instant delivery. We've all got our AI access. We do ride sharing. We've got climate control everywhere. We have normalized this modern abundance so quickly that we stop seeing it. Now, before someone twists this episode into, so you think struggling people should just magically think positive? Well, of course not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, by my book, number one, but your external circumstances matter. Your internal relationship to possibility matters. Radical responsibility means I may not control everything, but I still have agency over myself, my choices, my thoughts, my feelings. I still have choice. I still have creativity. I still have imagination. I still have the ability to grow. And one of the most dangerous things happening culturally right now is this glorification of victimhood. I want to say that again. The glorification of victimhood. Get over yourselves. I mean, seriously. Victimhood removes creative power. Victimhood keeps you stuck. Victimhood will not allow you to be the best you can be, the most you can be, and see your dreams fulfilled. So here's the question I want to leave you with today. What if the greatest limitation in your life is not the economy? Because it isn't, but the invisible ceiling that you inherited around what is possible for you. What if your family taught survival instead of expansion? What if your environment taught resentment instead of creation? What if your politics are actually reinforcing your fear? What if abundance begins the moment you stop seeing wealth as something evil and begin seeing it as energy, as stewardship, as circulation, and possibility? I believe deeply in helping people. I believe deeply in compassion. I believe deeply in creating systems that support human flourishing. But I do not believe the answer is teaching people that success itself is suspicious. And I absolutely do not believe the answer is convincing people they are powerless, because you aren't. That is the fastest way to create generational stagnation. This country became extraordinary because people believed they could create extraordinary lives. And whether your dream is $1 billion or simply peace or freedom or owning your first home or starting over after divorce or rebuilding after illness, the principle is the same. Your life expands when your identity expands. That is the real inner billionaire that you all have. We all have it. And nobody can legislate that away from you. So I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. And if this resonated with you, please share this episode with someone who's ready to stop living from fear and start creating from possibility. Because radical responsibility plus frequency equals freedom. And there's a link to the book in the show notes. Y'all come back now, you hear?